Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing again.
Just through the seat.
CASA has again refused to provide the number of times myocarditis and other conditions are mentioned in your medical records system in SQ 24001131. What are you hiding?
Nothing, Senator. As we've explained before, the medical records don't allow themselves to be interrogated in the way that you've asked. But as we have indicated previously, we have no evidence or examples of any pilot who has been impacted by a COVID vaccination that has meant they weren't airworthy.
You don't take the word of British courts and our own health authorities here?
Senator, I'm simply explaining to you what's in our system, and we have no one who's reported from having become unairworthy as a result of a COVID vaccination. Nothing has changed from when we've provided evidence to you on this basis in numerous estimates hearings.
So this is a simple matter. You simply search your database for the word myocarditis and you give this committee the number of matches that are returned. Why do you refuse to do that?
Because, Senator, as I think, again, we've explained previously, if we were to do that, it wouldn't necessarily align with any examples of myocarditis. I can't explain it any more than I have previously, and Andreas Marcellia has, and Kate Manderson has. We've got nothing more to add. I'm sorry, Senator.
Then you say it is an unreasonable diversion of resources. That's freedom of information talk, and I don't know if you realise this, but that excuse doesn't fly in the Senate. You're in Parliament. How many hours did it take you to answer SQ 23003267 dated 13th of February 2023?
I'd have to take that on notice, Senator.
Okay. How many resources did it take you to answer that question?
Take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. CASA seems to change between two different excuses on this issue, the same issue. Most recently you've said it's too hard and voluminous. Before you just said it wouldn't be useful without context. It seems like you can do the search, you just don't want to. So my question is, can you do this search for those words in your medical record system?
Senator...
Yes or no?
We could do yes.
Thank you. I can't imagine that answer is no because you've already done it. So thank you for confirming it. What specifically has changed since you answered SQ 23-003267 in February 2023? That means it's impossible for you to answer the same question in the same way in SQ 24001131.
My recollection, Senator, was the issue that we've got, we could do a search and the word could come up. We've got no way without significant resources to actually determine how often that word is actually linked to someone who has experienced that condition. We'd have to review every time that the word came up to determine whether it was actually linked to a specific example. Sorry.
I'm concerned. You mean you're telling me that CASA won't get off its backside and examine something unless the answer's easy?
No, Senator, that's not what I said.
Well, there's a bit of work involved here. You're responsible. You're the sole person responsible for the safety of our commercial aviation system.
And we put our resources where it makes the most difference.
So I want the question answered, what specifically has changed, and then we can come back to this hearing and talk about the context. Right now I'm asking why the Senate shouldn't refer you for contempt for blatantly refusing to do something you can do, seemingly out of convenience or trying to hide the answer.
Senator, I've got nothing further to add. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm simply saying to get the answer that you are after, which is actually would require us to go through what could be a voluminous number of examples of the word and no way of actually being able to determine which one is actually related to a specific example of that, and that's what we've said consistently throughout our appearances.
Can you just provide the answer to the question?
I'll take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. AstraZeneca has been withdrawn. AstraZeneca was found to be dangerous and not effective in British court system. You refused to give me, after many attempts, you refused to give me the name of any agency or person, expert, as to who you based your assessment that vaccines were safe. Now, AstraZeneca has been withdrawn. What is CASA doing to test...
Senator Robertson. I'm going to let Ms Spence answer that in all fairness. And we're going
I haven't
down
got
this
to my
path.
question yet.
No, but you... I'm just... Mr Williams, I think you said you refused or something like that. Ms Spence was just going, because you were going along, who was the expert that said, and I remember sitting in this building with our Prime Minister, who was carried out on a Sultan's chair with every other Premier because of the AstraZeneca and all that sort of stuff, but I think you should at least allow Ms Spence just to answer that claim.
Fine, but I haven't asked my question yet.
No, but you made a claim.
Okay.
Assertion. I do want to give her the chance, Senator Roberts. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Senator, you go through Hansard and find it as well. We have
Go through
relied
what?
on the health experts.
Go through what was that?
Sorry, Senator, if you want to follow up on issues around AstraZeneca, they should be referred to the Health Department, not the Civil Aviation Safety Authority.
I want to know what you're doing to make sure that pilots who took AstraZeneca are not at risk.
We have not seen any example of a pilot being incapacitated as a result of a COVID vaccination.
Again, it seems to me that CASA is waiting for the evidence to jump into its face.
I have nothing else to add. I'm sorry, Senator.
Have you checked?
Before we come to Senate estimates, yes, I asked whether there had been any examples of a pilot coming up in our system as having been incapacitated as a result of a COVID vaccination, and the answer has not changed from the last time we appeared before this committee.
So, specifically AstraZeneca?
No, Senator, all COVID vaccinations.
Would it be worth checking because we now know that AstraZeneca is dangerous?
Senator, it wouldn't matter what vaccination they had. The question is, has any pilot been incapacitated as a result of a COVID vaccination? That would include AstraZeneca as well as the other types of vaccinations.
I get that, but do we need to remind you that some pilots are afraid to report their injuries?
But, Senator, I can't. If you've got pilots who you know were incapacitated, or if pilots are approaching you who said they were incapacitated as a result of a COVID vaccination, I can only encourage you to get them to report that. They can do it anonymously through the ATSB response, but I cannot act on what I have no knowledge of.
Okay, let's get to some safety-related questions. Thank you for the copies of the permits with regard to helicopter flying and dispersion of chemicals. How low may a helicopter fly to distribute insecticide over property?
I might refer that to my colleague.
Senator Steve Campbell, Executive Manager, National Operations and Standards. It can vary, but generally for dispensing operations it can be as low as 300 feet.
What about in a hilly
or lower
valley?
if it's crop spraying.
What about in a hilly valley?
Sorry?
What about in a hilly valley?
Well, the pilots would have to take that into account, and when they do dropping operations they always do a risk assessment, and that will all come into it.
What about around houses, especially houses that have water tanks for drinking water, catching them off the roof?
Anything near a populous area will require not only the risk assessment but consultation with that property to go through those kind of matters.
So you're not the environmental...
No,
you don't
we're
have
not.
environmental responsibilities. I understand that. How close can they fly to a house? Could they fly close enough to disperse toxins on a house?
The drop site will be planned out previously, and it won't involve a house, and it's up to the pilot and the operator to ensure that anything that's dropped remains within the planned drop site.
And Senator, it's a bit like the other question, and as we briefed your advisor, if someone has evidence of a helicopter dropping bait in a way that's not consistent the way Mr Campbell has described, again, they should report it to the Civil Aviation Safety Authority or through the ATSB's REPCON process.
Must a helicopter avoid flying low over houses and dumping payload onto residential buildings?
I think
Sounds like they must.
I think that's exactly right. They must, and if they don't, then it should be reported to us. We do not have any examples of it having been reported to us. So, again, as we briefed your office, we would appreciate if there's examples of that happening. And it can't just be an anecdotal one. We would need to have as much information as possible, preferably photos that would allow us to track to see what has actually happened.
Must a helicopter avoid dumping payloads of what it's dispersing, to use your words, Mr Campbell, in creeks or waterways? Or is that beyond your...
That's beyond our realm. We deal with the safety as long as they're not dropping anything that's going to injure or damage humans, animals, or damage property.
So if a helicopter pilot dispenses something that hurts humans or animals?
Injures or damages. Yeah.
Injures or damages. What's
Yes.
injures? Literally?
Well, if...
Ingestion of chemicals that cause someone to be sick, animal to die?
No, I don't think it extends to illnesses that are created from whatever the dispensing agent is. It's about when it hits the ground or you know, near a person.
So if
Physically.
Physically.
It's a physical...
if it becomes a projectile?
Yeah.
So again, Senator, I think, you know, it's an issue where I think, again, as we've discussed, there are multiple regulators in this space as well. And so issues about the impact of the chemicals that are used to bait the fire ants is not something that we have any role in approving or anything like that. And so concerns about the impact on the environment as a result of how those baits are used, I expect are probably better taken up with someone in the environment portfolio.
We are, and we'll be taking it up here again with the third committee. What can be done to stop a helicopter pilot from doing any of the things like dropping payloads on crops or animals, creeks, waterways, houses?
Well, Senator, if it's reported to us, we can then investigate, and the more information we have, the more likely we can actually take enforcement actions against an operator who does something illegally.
Your permits, as I understand it, don't come with conditions. You leave it up to the pilot?
The operator, yes.
So it'd be pretty hard to say that the pilot's done something wrong.
Well, no, Senator, if they're flying below the height that's approved, like again, as we passed on to your office, a lot of those details are set out in the actual manual of standards and the regulation, and so if they're operating in a way that's not consistent with the manual of standards or the regulations, that can get reported to us and we can then take enforcement.
So what would you say
activity.
into the camera now to constituents in Queensland who are infested with these helicopters disturbing them?
I would say that they should be reporting, if they are concerned that a helicopter is operating outside the parameters that Mr Campbell outlined to you, they should be reporting that.
Where would they find those parameters?
Well, there's the material that we did send through to your office, but it is around the 300 feet and the area in which they can operate.
Yeah, if there's residents out there that feel that helicopters are dropping,
Flying too low
around their home, they can take video footage or, take photos, as Ms Spence said, and report them. And we'll do our best to assess whether they've operated outside of their approvals.
Question. How do you regulate these behaviours? How do you regulate the behaviours?
Well, Senator, the same ways we provide the approval that they can operate in accordance with the requirements that we set, and then if someone has evidence to say that someone is operating outside those parameters, we investigate and we can either take enforcement action or refer it to the DPP.
Thank you. Last question, Chair. What's the process for making complaints about breaches of safety protocols or regulations?
On our website, there is actually a mechanism to report a safety concern, and I think the ATSB has also got a similar ability to report on their website.
Thank you. And after months, years of trying to extract things from CASA, it was a pleasure to have you in my office giving us information freely.
Always happy to help, Senator.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Senator Roberts. Senator McKenzie.
Yeah, just a couple of follow-ups. Ms Spence, so you've declared your Chairman's Lounge membership, and are you a member also of Beyond?
Yes, I am, Senator.
Yep. The other two members of your executive team?
They're not members of Beyond.
They're not members of Beyond but are of Chairman's?
Yep.
Who are they?
Our CFO and our head of corporate.
Yep. And your evidence was that both of those are partners.
No, I said one of them was because of a partner.
Which one is the partner?
Our CFO.
The CFO's as a partner? Yep.
Yep.
And the head of corporates?
From a previous position.
How do you know it's from a previous position?
I think there was a policy that Qantas had that officers of a certain level at Defence were invited into Chairman's Lounge. I don't know the details.
How long
of it, Senator.
how long has he or she been with your organisation?
She's been with us for just over 5 years.
5 years. A Chairman's Lounge membership is usually a lot less than 5 years. So
Senator, I
can you
can't...
please,
Yeah.
okay, can you please clarify with her
Yep.
if that doesn't seem... If there has been another membership
Yep.
given in her current role rather than a hangover membership of when she was
I'll
in
take that on
defence
notice,
for
Senator.
five years ago. That's very important. Now, my understanding is that your disclosure regime is yearly?
Yes.
Yes. So are you confident that all three of you each year have declared this?
I certainly know that I have. I haven't got in my briefing pack what the others have done.
Can you take it on
I
notice?
will, of course I will, Senator, yes.
Yes. And similarly, your board, chair
Yes.
and the other member?
Yes.
Are you saying you know or you don't know?
Sorry.
You know they've got chairman's memberships?
Yes.
Do you know if they're declaring, because you did give evidence that they...
We have there's an ongoing, at the start of every board meeting, as you'd expect, we have a declaration of any
It's
changes.
a public declaration.
Senator, I'm sorry, I'll have to check that as well on what's on our register.
It's been like the hottest... You knew you'd be asked this question.
Yeah, Senator, and I was expecting it to be about me, and I have obviously...
Well, the reach of Qantas goes very deep into the regulatory system and the governance of this country, and I really think it's not just you, Ms Spence, because you've always been very upfront and open about it, but it is also understanding right throughout the organisation, including your board.
Yes, Senator.
And if you've told me you've got processes in place to manage it doesn't sound like it to me that you are across it.
Oh, well, Senator, I mean...
Declaring it at the start of every board meeting, but is it publicly declared by both of these board members?
We've certainly got on our website for our gifts and hospitality register, refers to the fact that I've got membership, and it refers to the fact that there are 2 executive members who've got membership and two board members have got membership. So that is clearly on our register.
Now, I apologise if this isn't right, but I'm looking at a printed copy of the Gifts and Benefit Register, and 2024...
And it's also virtual.
Righto.
It's
2
right at the
executives,
top.
but you
It's right
don't
at the
name
top.
them. Okay.
Yeah. But it's definitely there.
And the board members.
Yep.
And that's updated every year. All right, excellent. Sorry, I'm sorry I missed that. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Hallelujah.